Captain Dae Kim stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge and watched the stars bend around his ship. This was humanity's first voyage beyond their own solar system, using the new faster-than-light drive. After 200 years of reaching for the stars, humans had finally broken through the barrier that kept them trapped in one small corner of space. The communications officer turned to him with wide eyes. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission. It's not from Earth." Dae felt his heart race. This was it. First contact. "Put it through." The screen flickered and a face appeared. It wasn't human. The being had pale blue skin, 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, and a mouth that seemed too small for its head. When it spoke, the words were translated instantly by their computer. "Welcome, humans of Earth. We are the Galactic Union. We have been watching your progress. You are ready to join us now." Dr. Hannah Park stepped forward from her station. She was the ship's chief scientist and had spent her entire career preparing for this moment. "This is incredible," she whispered. "They've been watching us?" The alien on the screen continued. "We are sending you coordinates to Axiom Prime, our central station. Come. We have much to discuss." The transmission ended. Dae looked at his crew. Lieutenant Sung Choi, his security chief, looked suspicious. Ambassador Yuna Lee, Earth's representative, looked excited. They had trained for years for this moment, but nothing could truly prepare them for meeting another intelligent species. "Set course for the coordinates," Dae ordered. 3 days later, the horizon's edge dropped out of faster-than-light travel near a massive structure floating in space. Axiom Prime was bigger than anything humans had ever built. It looked like a city made of crystal and metal, spinning slowly in the darkness. Dozens of ships moved around it, each one different from the others. "How many species are out here?" Sung asked. "Scanning shows 47 different ship designs," Hannah reported. 47 species. And now we make 48. They docked at one of the station's many ports. Dae led a small team into the station, including Hannah, Sung, and Ambassador Yuna. The airlock opened and they stepped into a corridor filled with aliens of every shape and size imaginable. Some walked on 2 legs like humans. Others floated. Some had wings. Some had scales. But Hannah noticed something strange. Despite their different appearances, they all moved slowly, carefully, like they had all the time in the world. A tall alien with silver skin approached them. "I am Overseer Quellen of the Vex species. I will be your guide and supervisor during your probation period." "Probation?" Yuna asked. "Of course. All new species must complete a 50-year probation before full membership in the Union." Quellen's voice was smooth, but distant, like he was talking to children. They were led to a large chamber where the Union Council waited. The council consisted of representatives from each of the 47 species. They sat in a circle around a central platform where the humans stood. An ancient-looking being with skin like tree bark spoke first. "Humans of Earth, we welcome you to the Galactic Union. We have maintained peace in this galaxy for 12,000 years. We hope you will join us in this peace." 12,000 years. Dae tried to imagine it. All of recorded human history was only about 10,000 years old. Another council member spoke, this one with tentacles instead of arms. "You have been classified as Category 7. This means you are a volatile newcomer species. You will have restricted access to certain areas of the Union until you prove you can follow our protocols." "What does volatile mean?" Sung asked quietly. Hannah was already checking her data pad. "I think it means they consider us dangerous." The council continued talking about rules and regulations. Humans would need permission to travel to certain systems. They couldn't access certain technologies. They had to report all their activities to Overseer Quellen. The list went on and on. After the meeting, Yuna pulled Dae aside. "This isn't what I expected. They treat us like we're criminals on parole." "I noticed that too," Dae said. "Find out everything you can about this Category 7 classification. Over the next few days, The team explored what they were allowed to see of Axiom Prime. Hana spent her time in the Union's public databases, studying the other species. What she found disturbed her. She called the others to a private meeting in their quarters. Look at this data. Every single Union species has certain things in common. They all live between 300 and 800 years. They all have slow metabolisms. Their brain chemistry shows extremely low aggression levels. They reproduce slowly. They think slowly. And humans? Day asked. We live maybe 100 years if we're lucky. Our metabolism is fast. We're aggressive compared to them. We reproduce quickly. We think fast and make quick decisions. Hannah pulled up a chart. We're not just different, we're opposite from every other species in the Union. Sung leaned forward. That's why they classified us as volatile. We must seem crazy to them. Yuna was searching through restricted files she had managed to access with her ambassador credentials. Her face went pale. There's more. 3 other species were classified as Category 7 before us. I'm trying to find what happened to them, but the files are heavily encrypted. Can you break the encryption? Day asked. Not with our current technology. The Union's computers are far more advanced than ours. Yuna looked frustrated. But I did find their names. The Krell, the Tomar, and the Hask. All 3 are listed as extinct or disappeared. The room went quiet. Day felt a chill run down his spine. Quellen said the Union has maintained peace for 12,000 years. But what happens to species who don't fit their idea of peaceful? Hana pulled up another file. I found something else. The probation period isn't just about learning Union rules. It's a test. If a species can't adapt to Union standards in 50 years, they're expelled from Union space. Expelled to where? Sung asked. That's what I can't find out. The records just say they're relocated to designated zones. But there's no information about these zones in any public database. Day stood and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the beautiful, peaceful station. Ships coming and going. Aliens of every type living together in harmony. But now it felt less like paradise and more like a cage. We need more information, he said. Yuna, keep trying to access those files about the previous Category 7 species. Hana, study everything you can about Union biology and psychology. Sung, quietly assess their security and military capabilities. Don't let Quellen know what we're doing. What are you going to do? Yuna asked. Day turned back to face them. I'm going to send a message to Earth. They need to know what we've found. And they need to prepare for the possibility that joining the Galactic Union might not be the blessing we thought it was. As his team dispersed to their tasks, Day looked out at the alien stars once more. Humanity had reached for the cosmos and found they were not alone. But they had also found that being different might be the most dangerous thing of all. 2 weeks had passed since the humans arrived at Axiom Prime. Captain Day Kim had learned to recognize the subtle looks the other species gave his crew. Some looked curious. Most looked worried. A few looked almost afraid. The Union Council called an emergency meeting. Day brought his team and found the chamber filled with nervous energy. The tree-bark alien, who Day had learned was called Council Prime, stood at the center. We have a crisis, Council Prime announced. The Velar system's star is dying. 4 billion citizens need evacuation. We are asking for volunteers to help solve this problem. Day leaned toward Hana. Why is this our problem? It's a test, she whispered back. They want to see what we do. Overseer Quellen approached their group. This is an excellent opportunity for humans to prove their value to the Union. 7 of our most advanced species have tried to solve this crisis. All have failed. What makes you think we can succeed where they failed? Ambassador Yuna asked. Quellen's expression was unreadable. We do not think you will succeed. But the attempt will be educational for you. After the meeting, Day gathered his senior staff in a conference room. He had called for additional personnel from Earth, and they had arrived the day before. Engineer Tai Huang was among them. a creative problem solver known for unconventional solutions. Dr. Rincio, a psychologist, had also joined them. "Show us what we're dealing with," Day said. Hana pulled up star charts and data. The Valar system has 8 planets. 2 are inhabited. The star is experiencing rapid decay due to an unknown phenomenon. The Union estimates it will go supernova in 18 months. The problem is that the system has extreme gravitational anomalies that make evacuation nearly impossible. "What have the other species tried?" Tay asked. "The Vex spent 5 years building a network of transport gates, but the gravitational stress destroyed them. The Tomar tried mass evacuation ships, but they couldn't generate enough power to escape the system. The Union's current plan is to slowly evacuate people over 15 years using heavily shielded ships." 15 years? Sung spoke up. "But the star will explode in 18 months. "Exactly," Yuna said grimly. "Their plan will save maybe 200 million people at most. 4 billion will die." Tay was already running calculations on his data pad. "The Union thinks in long-term solutions. 5 years. 15 years. They have time because they live for centuries." He looked up. "But we don't think that way." "What are you suggesting?" Day asked. "We don't have 5 years to build perfect gates. We don't have 15 years for slow evacuation. We have 18 months. So we do what humans do best. We improvise." Over the next week, Tay worked with a small team of human engineers. They studied the Union's failed attempts and found the pattern. Every solution was careful, calculated, and designed to work perfectly with minimal risk. And every solution failed because it couldn't adapt when something went wrong. Tay presented his idea to Captain Day. "We create a network of gravity anchors. Not permanent ones like the Vex tried to build. Temporary ones. We place them in a web pattern around the evacuation zone. They'll stabilize the gravitational anomalies just long enough to get ships in and out." "How long will they last?" Day asked. "Maybe 6 months before they burn out. But 6 months is all we need." Dr. Rin had been studying the psychological profiles of the Union Council. "They'll never approve this plan. It's too risky. Too many things could go wrong. They prefer solutions they can control completely." "Then we don't ask for approval," Day said quietly. Yuna looked shocked. "Captain, we're on probation. If we act without Union authorization, they could expel us. And if we follow their rules, 4 billion people die." Day stood and walked to the window. "I didn't come to space to watch people die because we were too scared to break the rules." Sung smiled. "I was hoping you'd say that." They brought the plan to Overseer Quellen as a courtesy, not asking for permission but informing him of their intent. Quellen was horrified. "This plan is reckless, dangerous. The gravity anchors could collapse and kill everyone in the system. The Union cannot endorse such risk." "We're not asking the Union to endorse it," Day said. "We're informing you that humanity will attempt this rescue with or without your support." Quellen seemed at a loss for words. Finally, he said, "This will be noted in your probation records. If you fail, it will likely result in humanity's expulsion from Union space. Then we won't fail." Earth sent 3 ships loaded with equipment and personnel. The human fleet arrived in the Valar system and found the local population terrified. The Valar were a species that looked almost like humans, but with pale green skin and large, dark eyes. They had been told by the Union that evacuation was proceeding on schedule. They didn't know the schedule meant most of them would die. Day addressed the Valar leadership directly. "We're here to get everyone out. But we need your help." The Valar governor stared at him. "The Union said evacuation would take 15 years. You're saying you can do it faster?" "We're saying we'll try. And if we fail, at least we tried." The work began. Human engineers worked around the clock, installing gravity anchors at key points around the system. The anchors were crude compared to Union technology. They were built from salvaged parts and held together with what the Union would call primitive welding. But they worked. Tay coordinated the network from the horizon's edge. Anchor 7 is fluctuating. Compensate with anchors 5 and 9. The Valar, seeing humans working desperately to save them, joined the effort. They might not understand human technology, but they could pilot ships and help coordinate the evacuation. The Union watched from a distance. Some council members were curious. Most were convinced the humans would fail catastrophically. 6 months into the operation, half the population had been evacuated. The gravity anchors were holding, but barely. Tay had to constantly adjust them, routing power from one to another as they began to fail. "The math says we should have lost the network by now," Hana told him. Tay grinned tiredly. The math didn't account for human stubbornness. 8 months in, 3 of the gravity anchors failed simultaneously. The evacuation ships were thrown off course. 2 crashed on an uninhabited moon. Day ordered immediate rescue operations while Tay scrambled to rebuild the network. Dr. Rin worked with the Velar refugees, managing the psychological stress of rapid evacuation. She noticed something interesting. The Velar adapted to the human work pace better than Union species. They started making quick decisions, taking risks, thinking short-term. They were learning from humans. With 2 weeks before the stars predicted supernova, the last evacuation ship left the Velar system. 4 billion people saved. The gravity anchor network collapsed minutes after the final ship cleared the danger zone. When the human fleet returned to Axiom Prime, they found a crowd waiting. News of the Velar rescue had spread through the Union. The grateful Velar had broadcast their thanks to every corner of Union space. The Union Council held an emergency session. Council Prime stood before the humans. For a long moment, there was silence. Then Council Prime spoke. "In 12,000 years of Union history, we have never seen such disregard for proper protocols. You used untested technology. You took enormous risks. You worked at a pace we considered impossible." Day stood straight, ready to accept whatever punishment came. "And you saved 4 billion lives that we had condemned to death." Council Prime's voice carried something new. Respect. The Velar species formally requests that humans be granted full Union membership immediately, bypassing the probation period. Several other species support this motion. Overseer Quellen stood. "I must object. The humans' methods were dangerous and unpredictable. They cannot be trusted to follow Union protocols." "Perhaps," said a Velar representative, newly added to the council, "the Union protocols need to change." The chamber erupted in argument. Some species supported humanity. Others feared them. But no one could deny what had been accomplished. As Day and his team left the chamber, Yuna smiled. "We got their attention. That's what I'm afraid of," Sung muttered. Day watched the council chamber's doors close behind them. They had proven humans could solve problems the Union couldn't, but they had also proven that humans were willing to break the rules to do what they thought was right. And in a society that valued order above all else, that made them more dangerous than ever. The Velar rescue had changed everything. In the weeks that followed, Captain Day Kim noticed the shift in how other species treated humans. Some approached with genuine friendship. Others kept their distance, their fear now mixed with something else. Resentment, perhaps, or worry about what humans might do next. The Union Council was divided. 12 species, led by the grateful Velar, pushed for humanity's immediate full membership. 35 species, led by the conservative faction, wanted humans to complete their probation, or even face stricter restrictions. Earth sent reinforcements. Admiral Wu Nam arrived with a small fleet of ships, not as a show of force but as support for the growing human presence in Union space. With him came dozens of scientists, diplomats, and specialists. Among them was scientist Sora Kang, a brilliant quantum physicist with a talent for breaking supposedly unbreakable codes. Sora was given access to the Union's public databases to help humanity understand Union technology. But Sora had never been good at following rules about what she was allowed to access. Within days, she had found backdoors into restricted files. "You need to see this," she told Dr. Hana Park one evening. They met in a private room on the horizon's edge, away from Overseer Quellen's constant monitoring. Sora pulled up encrypted files. "These are records about the 3 previous Category 7 species. The Krell, the Tomar, and the Hask. I've been trying to decrypt them using union methods. It would take me 50 years. So you used human methods instead? Hana guessed. Sora smiled. Our computers might be less advanced, but we think differently. I used pattern recognition algorithms the Union never developed because they prefer direct calculation. I broke the encryption in 3 days. She opened the first file. It was about the Krell, a species that had joined the Union 900 years ago. Like humans, they were aggressive and short-lived. Like humans, they preferred quick solutions over long planning. The records showed how the Krell had proposed radical changes to Union structure, how they had questioned council authority, how they had refused to slow down their way of thinking to match Union standards. What happened to them? Hana asked, though she feared she knew the answer. The next files showed the truth. The Union Council had systematically sabotaged Krell efforts. Resources were denied. Support was withdrawn. The Krell were isolated, blamed for problems they didn't cause, and eventually labeled as too dangerous to remain in Union space. They were exiled to a dead zone at the edge of the galaxy, Sora said quietly. The Union sent them to a system with barely any resources. The official records say the Krell died out within a century. But look at this. She pulled up a different file. 20 years after exile, the Krell sent a message saying they wouldn't accept permanent exile. They built ships and tried to return to Union space. The Union Council voted unanimously to stop them by force. The Union military destroyed the Krell fleet. Every ship, every person. Hana felt sick. They committed genocide, and then they erased it from history. The public records say the Krell died from resource scarcity. Only these classified files tell the truth. Sora pulled up more files. The Tomar and Hask faced similar fates, sabotaged, exiled, and destroyed if they resisted. The Union has maintained 12,000 years of peace by eliminating anyone who threatened that peace. We need to tell Captain Day. They brought the information to a secret meeting. Day, Hana, Sora, Lieutenant Sung, Ambassador Yuna, and Admiral Wu gathered in the most secure room on the horizon's edge. This changes everything, Yuna said after reviewing the files. The Union isn't the peaceful democracy they pretend to be. It's a dictatorship that destroys diversity. Admiral Wu, a veteran of Earth's military conflicts, studied the tactical data about the Krell's destruction. Their military is strong. 200 ships destroyed 30 Krell vessels. But look at the battle reports. The Union had overwhelming numbers, but the fight lasted 3 weeks. The Krell adapted their tactics in ways the Union couldn't counter. The Union only won through sheer numerical superiority. The Union hasn't fought a real war in 12,000 years, Sung observed. They have weapons and ships, but no recent combat experience. Their tactics are ancient. A warning light flashed. Someone's trying to access our systems, Sora said, working quickly at her console. It's Overseer Quellen. He knows we're meeting. Minutes later, Quellen's face appeared on the main screen. His expression was colder than they had ever seen. Captain Day Kim, you and your team are to report to the Union Council immediately. You have violated restricted access protocols. We've found the truth about the Krell, Day said. About what the Union really does to species who don't conform. What you have found is classified information that you accessed illegally. This violation, combined with your reckless behavior during the Velar crisis, proves that humanity cannot be trusted. The Council is prepared to make a final decision on your fate. The screen went dark. Day looked at his team. They're going to try to exile us like they did the Krell. Or force us to change, Hana added. Remember the probation requirements? They want us to adapt to Union standards. What if that's not just cultural? What if they want to change us biologically? RT. Yuna pulled up more files Sora had found. Genetic modification protocols. The Union has technology to alter species at the genetic level. Reduce aggression. Slow metabolism. extend lifespan. They could make us into something that fits their society. They'd make us stop being human, Sung said. Admiral Wu stood. I need to contact Earth Command. They need to know what we're facing. The next day, the human delegation stood before the full Union Council. The chamber was packed with representatives from all 47 species. Armed guards stood at every entrance. Day noticed they were there to keep humans in, not to keep others out. Council Prime spoke with authority that allowed no argument. Humanity has violated Union law by accessing classified information. You have demonstrated repeatedly that you cannot follow our protocols. The Council has voted. You will be given a choice. A holo display appeared, showing a complex genetic code. This is a biological modification treatment. It will reduce your aggression to Union-acceptable levels. It will slow your metabolism and extend your lifespan to match other species. It will make you compatible with Union society. You have 48 hours to accept this treatment voluntarily. And if we refuse, Day asked, though he knew the answer, then you will be permanently exiled from Union space. Your species will be forbidden from any contact with the Union. You will be escorted to a designated zone and left there. Yuna stepped forward. You mean you'll send us to die slowly like the Krell? Or, if we refuse to go quietly, you'll destroy us like you destroyed them. The chamber went silent. Council Prime's expression didn't change. I don't know what you're referring to. We found the files, Sora said loudly. We know what happened to the Krell, the Tomar, and the Hask. We know the truth about Union peace. You don't maintain it through cooperation, you maintain it through force. Angry voices erupted from the council. Some denied the accusations. Others demanded the humans be removed immediately. But Day noticed something important. A few council members, including some from the Valar, looked shocked but not surprised. They had suspected the truth. Overseer Quellen stood. These lies and accusations prove that humanity is too dangerous to remain. I call for an immediate vote on their exile. Wait, said the Valar representative. If these humans found classified files, the Council should address what those files contain. Did we destroy the Krell species? That is not relevant to this discussion, Council Prime said firmly. It's completely relevant, shouted another representative, from a species Day didn't recognize. If we did this before, it means we could do it again. How many times has the Council lied to us about what happens to Category 7 species? The chamber descended into chaos. Species shouted at each other. Accusations flew. The careful order of the Union was cracking. Captain Nari Yoon, commander of Earth's second diplomatic vessel, sent an urgent message to Day's communicator. Captain, Union ships are surrounding our fleet. They're powering up weapons. Day looked at Admiral Wu. The Admiral nodded grimly. Earth Command has authorized Protocol Unbreakable. We won't submit to genetic modification. We won't accept exile. And we won't surrender. Day turned back to Council Prime. You're asking us to stop being human, to accept death or forced transformation. But you've made a mistake. You've shown us that your peace is built on oppression, and humans have a long history of fighting oppression. You cannot fight the Union, Council Prime said. We have 200 ships. You have 20. Numbers aren't everything, Day replied. Admiral Wu's voice came over the communication channel, broadcasting to all Union ships. This is Admiral Wu Nam of Earth. We reject the Union's ultimatum. We will not be modified. We will not be exiled. We will not be destroyed without a fight. Humanity chooses freedom. Outside Axiom Prime, Earth's 20 ships broke formation and prepared for battle. The Union's 200 ships moved to surround them. The first shot of what would be the shortest war in galactic history was about to be fired. The Union ships formed a perfect sphere around Earth's fleet. 200 vessels against 20. The formation was textbook military strategy, the kind taught in academies for thousands of years. Surround the enemy. Cut off escape routes. Apply overwhelming force. Admiral Wu Nam watched the enemy formation from his flagship and smiled. They're doing exactly what we expected. They haven't adapted their tactics in millennia. On the horizon's edge, Captain Dae Kim received the final message from Earth. All human civilians are to evacuate Axiom Prime immediately. All military personnel are authorized to engage if fired upon. Do not fire first, but do not surrender. General Won Park, Earth's tactical genius, had sent detailed battle plans. She had spent the last 3 weeks studying every piece of data about Union military capabilities. The Union had superior numbers and superior technology. But they had one critical weakness. They were predictable. Engineer Mia Lim had been working on humanity's secret weapon, a combat artificial intelligence that could adapt in real time to changing battlefield conditions. Union AIs were powerful but rigid, programmed with 10,000 years of tactical doctrine. Mia's creation learned and changed with every second of combat. All human ships, this is Admiral Wu. Activate Mia's gift. Across the fleet, the combat AI came online. Human ships suddenly began moving in patterns that made no tactical sense. They broke formation. They scattered. Some accelerated toward the Union line while others pulled back. To the Union commanders, it looked like panic. The Union opened fire first. Energy weapons lit up space as they targeted the closest human ships. But the ships weren't where the Union targeting systems predicted. They had changed course at the last instant, guided by the adaptive AI that calculated 1,000 possible futures every second. Return fire, Wu ordered. Protocol Unbreakable is now active. Human weapons were crude compared to Union technology. They were kinetic projectiles, missiles, and old-fashioned explosives. But what humans lacked in sophistication, they made up for in creativity. The first wave of human missiles split apart mid-flight, each one becoming 10 smaller warheads. The Union point defense systems, calibrated for single targets, couldn't track them all. 3 Union ships took damage. It wasn't much, but it was damage. The Union fleet hadn't taken hostile fire in over 10,000 years. Alarms blared, crews panicked. Commanders demanded reports. Lieutenant Sung Choi commanded Earth's fastest ship, a small fighter craft that the Union had dismissed as insignificant. He led a squadron of 9 similar ships in a kamikaze run at the Union's command vessel. Union defensive fire filled space around them. 2 human ships exploded, but 7 got through. At the last possible moment, the 7 ships split up. They didn't attack the command ship. They dropped electronic warfare packages that scrambled Union communications. Suddenly, the 200 Union ships couldn't coordinate with each other. Hit them now, Wu commanded. Human ships poured fire into the confused Union formation. But they didn't aim for kills. They targeted weapon systems, engines, communications arrays. Engineer Tae Hwang's team had identified the weak points in every Union ship design. The humans exploited them ruthlessly. A Union captain, trying to restore communications, sent a message in the clear. They're not fighting like any enemy we've trained against. Our tactical database has no reference for this combat style. That was the point. General Hwan had designed Protocol Unbreakable based on a simple principle. Humans don't have one way of fighting. They adapt. They improvise. They cheat. Captain Narayun commanded a larger human vessel armed with experimental weapons. Her target was the Union's mobile fortress, a massive ship that carried 50 heavy cannons. Standard tactics said to avoid such a ship. Instead, Nari accelerated directly toward it. The fortress opened fire. Nari's ship weaved through the barrage, taking hits but staying intact. Human ships were built tougher than they looked, designed to absorb damage and keep fighting. Union ships were designed to avoid damage entirely. At point-blank range, Nari released her ship's cargo. Hundreds of small drones, each carrying a powerful explosive. They swarmed the fortress like angry insects. The fortress's weapons couldn't target something so small and fast. Explosions rippled across its hull. The fortress went dark, disabled but not destroyed. On Axiom Prime, Overseer Quellen watched the battle in disbelief. This is impossible. They're outnumbered 10-1. They should be losing. Diplomat Juno Kwan, a human who had been working secretly with sympathetic Union species, appeared on Quellen's screen. You made the same mistake you made with the Krell. You assumed that superior numbers meant guaranteed victory. You forgot that desperation makes humans dangerous. Quellen cut the connection and ordered more ships into battle. But adding more ships only made the problem worse. The Union fleet was so large, they started getting in each other's way. Meanwhile, human ships moved through the chaos like predators, striking and vanishing before the Union could respond. After 72 hours of continuous combat, the battle statistics were impossible to deny. Earth's fleet had lost 3 ships completely destroyed. 2 more were heavily damaged, but the Union had lost 89 ships disabled or destroyed. The perfect sphere formation had collapsed into a confused mass of vessels trying desperately to adapt to an enemy that wouldn't fight fair. Dr. Rin Seo monitored Union communications from a safe distance. She compiled a psychological profile of the enemy. They're breaking down. Union species aren't mentally prepared for this kind of stress. They've had peace for so long that actual combat is traumatic for them. Some ships are refusing to engage. Others are requesting permission to withdraw. Scientist Sora Kang had one final trick to play. While the battle raged, she had been working on a different kind of weapon. Not a physical one, but an informational one. She had gathered all the evidence about the Krell, the Tomar, and the Hask, every classified file, every proof of Union crimes. Captain Nari's ship made a suicide run at Axiom Prime. Not to attack it, but to get close enough to bypass its security systems. Sora's information bomb was planted deep in the station's network. When it detonated, it broadcast to every screen, every device, every communication system in the Union. Across the galaxy, billions of Union citizens learned the truth. The Krell hadn't died from resource scarcity. They had been murdered. The Tomar and Hask had faced the same fate. The Union's 12,000 years of peace was built on genocide. The reaction was immediate. On 14 worlds, protests began. Species that had always trusted the Council demanded answers. Some demanded Council Prime's resignation. Others demanded justice for the murdered species. The Union fleet received new orders. Cease fire. Return to Axiom Prime. This is Council Prime. All ships stand down immediately. The battle ended as suddenly as it had begun. Human ships, damaged but victorious, pulled back. Union ships retreated. Some of them barely functional. Overseer Quellen's face appeared on Captain Day's screen. For the first time since they had met, Quellen looked uncertain. The Council requests immediate negotiations. No more fighting. We need to talk. Under what terms? Day asked. Your terms. The conservative faction has lost support. Half the Council is demanding trials for those who authorized the Krell genocide. The other half just wants to prevent a galactic civil war. Quellen paused. You were right. Our peace was built on oppression, and now everyone knows it. Admiral Wu appeared beside Day. We didn't come here to conquer anyone. We came to be free. I understand that now, Quellen said quietly. I watched you fight. You're terrifying, but you also could have destroyed Axiom Prime, and you chose not to. You disabled our ships but didn't kill their crews when you could have. You fought like you wanted to survive, not like you wanted to exterminate us. Day thought about the Velar rescue, about how humans had risked everything to save people they barely knew. Humans are aggressive. We're short-lived and we make quick decisions. But we're not monsters. We just want the freedom to be ourselves. Then we need to build a new union, Quellen said. One that allows species to be themselves. But I don't know how to do that. We've done it one way for 12,000 years. Mia Lim spoke up from her engineering station. That's easy. You stop trying to make everyone the same. You celebrate the fact that we're all different. Ambassador Yuna was already drafting proposals. A restructured union, where every species maintains sovereignty. Where diversity is encouraged, not suppressed. Where aggression is channeled into competition and innovation instead of being eliminated. The new protocol, Hana said. We replace the old rules with new ones. Rules based on freedom instead of control. Council Prime's image appeared on all screens, broadcasting to the entire Union. The ancient being looked tired. The humans have defeated us in battle. and expose truths we tried to hide. But they offer us something unexpected. Not revenge, but change. The Council will vote on their proposal for a new protocol. A reformed Union that learns from our mistakes. Day watched as human and Union ships began rescue operations, helping each other repair damage and recover wounded. Old enemies working together because humans had shown them a different way. We won, Sung said quietly. We survived, Day corrected. Now comes the hard part. Building something better than what came before. The vote took 3 weeks. Every species in the Union had to decide whether to accept the new protocol or cling to 12,000 years of tradition. Captain Dae Kim watched the proceedings from the observation deck, no longer as a prisoner on probation but as an honored guest. Ambassador Yuna Lee worked day and night with representatives from 47 species. The new protocol she proposed was simple in concept but revolutionary in practice. Each species would keep its own government and culture. There would be no more genetic modification requirements. No more forced conformity. Species could be aggressive or peaceful, fast-thinking or slow, short-lived or nearly immortal. But how do we maintain peace? Asked a council member from the Teth species, a cautious race that had lived in Union harmony for 8,000 years. By turning competition into progress instead of conflict. Yuna explained. Let species compete to solve problems, to create new technology, to explore new space. Give them something to channel their energy into besides fighting each other. Dr. Hannah Park presented her research to the Union's scientific community. Look at what happened after humans arrived. In just 3 months, we helped save the Velar system using methods you never considered. Why? Because we think differently than you. Now, imagine if we had 10 species all thinking differently, all approaching problems from unique angles. The scientists were fascinated. For 12,000 years, Union science had advanced slowly and carefully. Hannah showed them data projecting that with diverse approaches, advancement could increase 100-fold. Engineer Tae Huang and engineer Mia Lim opened workshops where Union engineers could learn human techniques. They called it productive chaos theory. Union engineers were horrified at first by the messy, improvised methods, but when they saw the results, many became converts. You just weld random pieces together and hope it works? A Vex engineer asked. Watching Tae build a power regulator from spare parts. No, we understand the principles and adapt materials to fit our needs, Tae explained. Your way, you'd spend 2 years designing the perfect regulator. My way, I have a working one in 2 hours. It's not perfect, but it works. Lieutenant Sung Choi had an unexpected role. He became an instructor for the Joint Defense Initiative, teaching Union military forces how to think tactically instead of just following ancient doctrine. His students were shocked by his methods. You want us to ignore the battle plan? A Union officer asked. I want you to adapt when the battle plan fails, Sung corrected. Every plan falls apart when you meet the enemy. The question is whether you can improvise a new one. Scientist Sora Kang led an expedition that would change everything. Using the coordinates from old files, she found the designated zone where the Krell had been exiled. What she found there made her cry. The Krell had survived. Against all odds, they had built a new civilization in the dead system where the Union had abandoned them. When Sora's ships arrived, the Krell prepared for another Union attack. Instead, they received an apology. The Union lied about what happened to you, Sora told the Krell leaders. They tried to hide their crimes, but we exposed the truth. And now we want to bring you home. The Krell were suspicious at first. But when they saw the evidence of the new protocol, when they learned that other species had risen up to demand justice for them, they agreed to return. 300,000 Krell, the survivors of genocide, came back to Union space as heroes. The vote finally came. The results were broadcast across the galaxy. 32 species voted in favor of the new protocol. 15 voted against, preferring the old ways. But 32 was more than enough for the majority needed. Council Prime stepped down from leadership, acknowledging responsibility for the cover-up of Union crimes. A new council was formed with representatives from all species. including humans. Captain Day was offered a seat. He accepted, though he made it clear he spoke only for humanity's interests, not as anyone's superior. The reformed Union established the Diversity Initiative. Species that had hidden their true natures for fear of being labeled Category 7 came forward. A species called the Rin revealed they had been suppressing their natural curiosity and love of exploration. Another species, the Mech, admitted they had been hiding their competitive nature. Both were welcomed openly. Dr. Rin Seo started a program to help species recover from millennia of enforced conformity. It was like therapy for an entire galaxy. "You've all been taught that being different is dangerous," she explained in her lectures. "But different is what makes you valuable. Your unique perspective is a gift, not a flaw." 5 years passed. The changes were remarkable. New technologies emerged from collaborative efforts between species who approached problems differently. Exploration expanded, as curious species were encouraged to seek new worlds instead of staying safely at home. Even conflicts decreased because species now competed in science, sports, and innovation instead of warfare. Captain Day, now Admiral Day, commanded a mixed-species fleet exploring beyond the old Union boundaries. His crew included humans, Velar, Krell, and a dozen other species. They worked together not because they were forced to be the same, but because they were allowed to be different. Hana served as the Union's chief science advisor. She had made more breakthroughs in 5 years than the Union had made in the previous 100. "Diversity drives innovation," she often said. "Homogeneity leads to stagnation." Una became the Union's first chancellor under the new protocol. She was elected by representatives from all species, human and alien alike. Her first act was to establish a memorial on Axiom Prime for the Krell, Tomar, and Hask. The memorial bore a simple message: "Never again will we destroy those who are different. Never again will we mistake conformity for peace." Sung retired from military service and wrote a book about adaptive tactics. It became required reading in every Union military academy. Former enemies now trained together, learning that the best defense was a diverse array of approaches. Tay and Mia opened a joint human-Union research facility. They called it the Innovation Hub, and it became famous for impossible inventions. "We encourage productive chaos," Tay liked to say. "It makes perfectionists uncomfortable, but it gets results." Sora continued exploring, finding 2 more lost Category 7 species that had been exiled and forgotten. Both returned to Union space and added their unique perspectives to the growing diversity. Overseer Quellen, who had once monitored humans with suspicion, became one of humanity's strongest advocates. He wrote extensively about his transformation from enforcer of conformity to believer in diversity. "Humans taught me that difference is not dangerous," he wrote. "Fear of difference is dangerous." The Velar species, who humans had saved from their dying star, became humanity's closest allies. They had learned human urgency and creativity while maintaining their own cultural identity. Together, they explored new worlds and built new colonies. On Earth, the changes were just as dramatic. Humanity's exposure to alien species had made them more open-minded and curious. Young people studied alien languages and cultures. Artists created works inspired by alien aesthetics. Scientists collaborated with alien researchers on projects that benefited everyone. Admiral Day stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Unbreakable, and looked at his diverse crew. His second-in-command was Krell. His chief engineer was Velar. His science officer was human. His navigator was from a species he'd never even heard of 5 years ago. "Admiral, we're approaching the unexplored region," his navigator reported. "What do we know about this area?" Day asked. "Nothing. The old Union never came this far. They considered it too risky." Day smiled. "Perfect. Take us in." Back on Axiom Prime, Chancellor Una stood before the monument to the lost species. A young alien child, brought by her parents to learn history, asked a question: why did the old Union hurt people who were different? Una knelt down to the child's level. Because they were afraid. They thought everyone needed to be the same to have peace. But they were wrong. What changed? Humans came. They showed us that being different makes us stronger, not weaker. They taught us that real peace comes from accepting each other, not changing each other. The child looked at the monument. Were humans brave? Yuna thought about everything that had happened. The risks taken, the battles fought, the changes made. Humans were terrified, she said honestly. But they did the right thing anyway. That's what bravery really is. In a quiet lab on Earth, Dr. Rin was writing the final chapter of her book about the psychological transformation of the Union. She titled it, The Unbreakable Protocol. How humanity's refusal to conform saved a galaxy. The last paragraph read, Humans entered the galactic community as the underdogs. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and outlived by species who had mastered the galaxy for 12,000 years. But humans had something those species had lost: the courage to be themselves. They showed us that short lives can be lived with great purpose, that aggression can be channeled into progress, that chaos can be productive, that different is not dangerous. In refusing to break, they broke through 12,000 years of stagnation and showed the galaxy what it means to be truly free. On a distant colony world, young Krell children played with human children and Velar children. Their parents watched, amazed at how easily they accepted each other's differences. One Krell parent turned to a human parent. Your species saved mine twice. Once from exile, and once from despair. How can we ever repay that? Andin, the human smiled. Keep being Krell. Stay angry. Stay competitive. Stay true to who you are. That's all we ever wanted. The freedom to be ourselves and the same freedom for everyone else. Admiral Day's fleet pushed deeper into unexplored space. They would find new worlds, new challenges, new species. Some would be friendly. Some might be hostile. But whatever they found, they would face it together. Humans and aliens working as equals, each bringing their unique strengths to solve problems. The galaxy was changing. After 12,000 years of enforced peace through conformity, a new era had begun. An era of voluntary cooperation through diversity. An era where being different wasn't just accepted but celebrated. And it had all started because humans refused to change who they were. Because when faced with the choice between conformity and freedom, between safety and identity, between surrender and resistance, humanity had made their choice clear. They were not perfect. They were not eternal. But they were unbreakable. And in being unbreakable, they had taught the galaxy how to bend without breaking, how to change without losing themselves, how to find strength in diversity instead of uniformity. The monument on Axiom Prime grew over the years. New plaques were added, celebrating not just the lost species but all species who contributed their unique gifts to the Union. At the center stood the original plaque with humanity's motto, the words that had sparked a revolution. We are not perfect, we are not eternal, but we are unbreakable. Visitors from across the galaxy came to read those words. Some were moved to tears. Others were inspired to embrace their own differences. All understood that something fundamental had changed. The galaxy had learned that peace built on suppression is fragile, but peace built on acceptance is eternal. And humanity, the short-lived aggressive species that everyone had feared, had taught them that lesson. Not through conquest, but through example. Not by changing others, but by refusing to be changed. They were unbreakable. And they had made the galaxy stronger because of it.